Hello and welcome to another episode of How to Survive, a podcast where we take classic films, discuss them, and then say how we would survive if we were unfortunate enough to find ourselves living in them. I'm Joe and I'm joined by Chris. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Good to be back.
Very good to be back. Episode 7 now.
Yeah.
Did you think we'd make it this far?
I always knew,
Yeah, a little bit of hard work, imagination, dedication. Mm-hmm. So this week we're going to be talking about A Nightmare on Elm Street, and this is the beginning of our Wes Craven season, which will run 2 weeks.
Yeah, as do all of our seasons.
Yes. Next week will be The Hills Have Eyes
of
1977. That's the original, not the remake. Of course, Wes Craven is one of the most acclaimed directors in all of horror history, so it only seems fitting that we should mark his life by picking apart his best work.
And laughing at it in the process.
But all in good humour.
Yeah. So, A Nightmare on Elm Street.
A Nightmare on Elm Street this week, indeed. For anyone who hasn't seen it, pause the podcast, go watch it, because we're about to recap the plot for anyone who hasn't watched it this week, like we have. So it begins on a woman, or girl, a lady.
A female.
Yeah, being chased through a boiler room.
Yeah.
She's cornered by a man who has knives for fingers and a burnt face, and he takes a swing at her, but she wakes up frightened because it turns out it was a dream. Right? But her dress has been ripped by his clawed hand, suggesting already that there's something not quite right about these dreams, that the monster of the dream, the man, can transcend between dream and reality, and that's going to be important later on. So she goes to school the next day and she tells her friends about her weird dream. By the way, she's called Tina.
Yes.
Her best friend is a girl called Nancy, who has a boyfriend called Glenn, and she herself, Tina, has a boyfriend called Rod. Yeah,
they're the main four characters.
Yes, the Fab Four.
Yes.
Who she enlists to keep her safe. We'll keep watch over her while she sleeps that night.
A vigil.
Yes. Well, she actually only selects two of them, who are her close friends, Nancy and Glenn. But that night, her boyfriend, Rod, a bully boy, he shows up and hassles everyone and takes her off to bed. Yeah, that's the best way to describe what happens. It's weird. That night, she has another dream, another equally bad dream, but she's being chased again by what we know is Freddy Krueger. Let's not mince words.
We know as the modern audience that it's Freddy Krueger.
Yes, of course. He kills her in the dream, but we don't actually know how he kills her in the dream because all we see is the effect it has on her in real life. As we know, his murders, his attacks transcend into real life. So she's being thrown around the room, she's up on the ceiling, having all sorts of flesh gouged off her, while her boyfriend, Rod, watches on, powerless to help. So he escapes out the window, as any right-thinking person would, because he didn't know what's going on, I suppose. But the next day he's arrested for her murder. Now, most of the people, including the police, believe the story that Rod killed her, including Nancy's father, who is the chief of police, for all intents and purposes. But she has been having the dreams as well, so she knows that there's something amiss, that perhaps the killer isn't this guy, it's actually the dream spectre. One of the things that happens in these dreams that Nancy's having is that she sees Freddy's intention to kill the incarcerated Rod. So she goes down to the police station and says to her father, "Can you go check Rod's cell?" And he said, I've told you, I don't want you meddling in this. And she said, "Please, just go and check him." Meanwhile, Freddy's worked his magic. He's possessed the bed sheets and basically constricted around Rod's neck and hanged him. So that it looks like a sort of suicide. So it cuts to his funeral, more or less pretty quickly, Rod's funeral. And after the funeral, her father says to her mother, she needs to rest and cut this out. And she said, "Don't worry about that. I'm going to take her to a mental hospital, basically. I'll get her professional help." So sure enough, he takes her to a dream clinic. Well, she has a dream in the dream clinic from which she brings back Freddy's hat. And she knows it's Freddy's hat because written in the hat is Fred Krueger. So now we know that she can bring things from the dream world into real life. So she devises a plan that she's going to pull Freddy back from her dream into real life and basically kill him in real life.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Johnny Depp, who
plays Glenn.
Yeah, he dies.
Yeah.
That's his role in the film.
Yeah. Builds up to the final showdown, basically, and they fight, and then she does manage to drag him back into reality.
Yeah. She devises a kind of plan Macaulay Culkin would be proud of.
Yeah.
Brings Freddy into the real world, beats him up a bit, sets him on fire, and he runs upstairs and jumps on bed with her mother, who has basically passed out through a drink, burning them both to death. And Freddy then disappears, and her mother descends into the bed in a very creepy shot.
Yeah.
So the girl, Nancy, and her father, who's by her side, they look on at this happening, and seconds pass, and she turns to her father and says, "I'm fine now." Literally, she says the words, "I'm fine." Then the father leaves, and Freddy attacks again. He wasn't dead after all. And she says, basically, "Now you're powerless over me because I know this is a dream, and I'm gonna be fine." Yeah. So the next day, she's off to school.
Yeah. All her friends are back to life.
Yeah, it was all a dream. Her mother sees her off. She gets in the car, and the car turns out, get this, to be Freddy Krueger. And the reason we know this is because the soft top comes down.
It's red and green.
Yeah, like his jumper. And they set off. They were screaming, and the mother waving as if it's all fine. And then she gets pulled through the front door by Freddy, and the film ends.
Yeah. That is Nightmare on Elm Street.
It was all a dream.
Yeah, or was it?
Good question.
But yeah, what did you think of the film?
I enjoyed it.
Yeah?
I mean, in terms of classic horrors, we've previously done Friday the 13th, which is kind of the ultimate slasher. Yeah. And this is mentioned often in the same breath, Freddy and Jason. Impossible not to make the comparison. And I think this has a lot more to talk about in terms of being a classic film than does Friday the 13th.
I agree. I think like things like the opening scene where you see the tools being
manufactured. Yeah.
Like they work as a sort of creepy image in their own right, but are even better now that Freddy's become like this iconic villain. Yeah. So that little touches like that are really cool.
I have to say, in terms of a horror film, I wasn't left terrified by it, but I think that's probably more to do with changing tastes over the last 30 years. Yeah. And also, everyone's seen those scenes. Yeah. But I have to say, I was kind of impressed with the effect, except for the part at the end when he kind of vanishes into the air in a kind of demon headmaster special effects, like Doctor Who thing.
And when she gets lowered into, the mother gets like absorbed into the
But
bed.
even that wasn't that bad.
Yeah,
I mean, there's the part where he sort of goes and he like he turns into like electricity. Yeah. And you can't animate electricity in 1980, and it looks rubbish. Yeah. But I mean, in terms of like him cutting himself open and the maggots falling out, all that stuff's really cool.
It's quite cool, isn't it? Yeah. Like it's well done. Like I think Freddy Krueger, either through just like him becoming iconic and therefore like seen a lot, isn't that scary by modern standards, but the things that he can do like is quite scary and quite unnerving, and like as you say, like cutting himself and things falling out,
and he's stretching his arms and
cutting his fingers open. Yeah, this shot where his arms are really 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 long, and then like she's running away from him and then turns around and he's there because he can like clearly like just appear wherever in sort of dream.
Nothing's real, it's a dream, so, and he's in control of it, so in that sense he can do anything. Well, Johnny Depp was shit.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Yeah. It says introducing Johnny Depp in a sort of prescient way, as though it's like we know Johnny Depp's going to become like a massive deal.
Well, he did. He is a big deal, and he has had good films. Yeah. But this wasn't one of them. There's a scene where he goes outside, when Rod shows up. Yeah. In that scene, he goes outside to sort of check what's making that noise, and he says, "Oh, you think we're scared, Rod? Kitty, kitty." Yeah. And it's like the worst acting I've ever seen in any scene. And Mr. Editor, please put that clip in now.
I'm gonna punch out your ugly lights, whoever you are. Kitty, kitty. Chow, chow, chow.
See? It's awful.
And like, there's a lot of sort of quite wooden acting though throughout. And a personal favourite of mine is after Tina's murder. Nancy meets up with her parents at the police station, and it's almost like that, rather than being concerned that one of her friends has been brutally murdered, they're more annoyed at her for going to a party. Like, are they supposed to be like, is it implied she's sort of religious, or like, because she's got a crucifix?
Yeah, there's that scene where she puts it over the bed.
Yeah, and she won't. It's implied she won't sleep with Glenn because of, he says, damn morals, like that. Like,
I think she's like, oh no, we're here for Tina tonight, not for us.
Yeah. But I wonder whether it's, you know, implying that she's more of like a chaste individual than Tina. But either way, her parents arrive at the police station and they seem more annoyed at her for being at a friend's house, like having a sleepover, than
the concern for her safety.
Yeah. And there's actually the line, maybe you don't think murder is serious. But like, there's that campy tone all the way throughout, which is. But
you have to ask the question: is that there because Wes Craven's just tired of horror cliches?
Do you mean in what sense?
Well, all the cliches are there.
Yeah.
Kids have sex, then die.
Like monster chasing them, slasher sort of.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very slasher trope film.
Yeah.
Is it early on enough that isn't cliched, or is it just exploitation?
Well, it's not even that it's cliche. It's just funny, isn't it? It's just like I don't know. Maybe it's just an overall improvement in the amount of money that films have to throw around nowadays.
Right.
But you don't tend to get as sort of weird wooden acting and, you know, script writing in modern films as you do back then. I guess that's part of their charm and what makes them sort of. That's what I mean. Like, the tone of it is quite camp and like over the top.
I mean, you got to bear in mind, Wes Craven did go on to make Scream. So my question is kind of: does he already have the idea in his head that these are like stupid things to have in a film?
Well, possibly. Although I don't necessarily know that individual scenes like that are indicative of that. I think it's more like you get those sorts of things with the special effects and with the, you know, certainly towards the end of the film, the sort of more slapstick elements.
Right. Yeah.
But like, I think the script writing is. I guess at this point it's almost like a secondary concern for them, isn't it? Like it's more about just getting the shocks in and the you know, the horror element of it. Next week we're talking about The Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah,
some of the screenwriting in that is funny.
Yes, I mean, and like you say, that film is very much about the shocks.
Yeah.
As is The Last House on the Left, where these were sort of banned films because they were so nasty. Yeah. And this is much more mainstream, much more home video friendly. Yeah. So while it's shocking, it's still tasteful.
Yeah, but I you know, there are some really nice touches as well, like we said about the tools in the first scene, and then there's the thing about the nursery rhyme. Right. Yeah. Like 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. Yeah. Yeah. Because at first you think, is that a sort of dream element? But actually, it would make sense because we learn about the history of Freddy Krueger, because he was a child murderer, serial killer. Yes. And a serial killer of children. Yes. And he escaped prosecution on a technicality. Yeah. And a group of parents decided to round him up, basically, and burn him to death. Burn him to death in his boiler room. In the boiler room where he used to take kids to kill them. But it would make sense within the context of the real world for a nursery rhyme to exist locally based on this almost mythical killer. Right. Like, you know, how nursery rhymes do develop. You know, they're all about things that have actually happened. Yes, exactly. Or often are. And even if it is a kind of local spook story, like, you know, urban legend. Those things would happen. But Freddy Krueger, I don't know if you picked up on this, killed 20 children before he was caught. Yeah. Right. 20. It's a lot. Yeah. That's like the world's worst, up there with the world's worst serial killers. Yeah. Now, I don't know a lot about law, Joe, or crime or punishment, but surely a technicality would not. Like, imagine being their lawyer, like the lawyer of a person who's murdered 20 children, or perhaps the lawyer of the prosecution.
saying that we know you did it.
Yeah.
We've got your evidence.
The judge.
We've got the murder weapon. We've got the place you did it. We found the bodies on your property.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't sign the search warrant.
Yeah.
Oh well, you got to go then.
Yeah, like let him back out into the community with no recourse.
Yeah. The police in the movie, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost cliche to talk about the cliches of police in movies, but they're absolutely awful in this one. The scene where Rod is found hanged.
Yeah.
It was we know it was seconds before, and he could probably still be saved with any attention given to
first aid.
Yeah, they just like, oh, he's gone.
He's gone. Yeah.
Check his pulse.
Yeah.
Just, oh yeah, actually, there is still a pulse.
Yeah.
Don't just leave him. He's dead.
Just don't worry about him. And then there's the scene where towards the end of the film where Nancy is trapped inside her own house with Freddy, and she's like, help me! Yeah. Get my father! The killer is in here! And he's like, go back inside, it'll all be fine.
Everything's okay.
Everything's under control. Yeah. Similarly, some really negligent morticians who bring out Tina's body and like drop it on the ground in front of
TV cameras.
TV cameras, national news. Incompetence
all round then.
Yeah.
And speaking of incompetence, the Dream Doctor, right?
Yeah.
How is he a doctor? Right, these are things he actually says.
Yeah.
She says, can't you give me something to make me not dream?
Yeah.
And he says, if you don't dream, you go, and he points at his head, as if you don't dream, you go. That's not true.
Well, there's an element of truth in that because you need REM sleep.
Right, and I'm sure REM sleep's going to come up a lot in our How to Survive.
Yeah, possibly.
But I mean that in itself isn't necessarily true. If you had a way to stop dreams, that they weren't necessarily drive you mad. But then he says, I mean, the mother is with him in the observation booth, and she says, "What are dreams?" And he says, "Mysteries, incredible body, hocus pocus. The truth is, we don't know what they are or where they come from."
Where they come from.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, bear in mind this is 1984.
Right.
Dream science, Joe, may not have been advanced enough.
It was in its infancy.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously they have enormous local sleep centres where they can study sleep patterns, but they just can't draw any conclusions from it. They just have to go, right, well, we can see that you're having trouble sleeping. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't tell you why.
Yeah.
Why isn't it national news when she makes a hat appear out of nowhere and it's not just in front of her like close family, want to keep it under wraps? And
the guy, she wakes up from a bad dream, right?
Yeah.
If I said, "Oh, listen, doctor, I've been having bad dreams lately," and he said, "Listen, I'll tell you what, I'm actually a dream doctor. I'll observe you dreaming, and I had a bad dream, and I woke up. You know, the last thing I want is something to send me back to sleep."
Yeah.
And he's got this sedative at the ready.
Yeah, wake up so you can go back to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think all of these little things like this do add to the film's charm overall.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing that I think detracts from the film, as a modern viewer, and this is my personal opinion, the music is absolutely ridiculous.
Right. It's like a Euro techno party every time Freddy shows up.
It's fine, like, to have it follow, you know, like, you know, It Follows, for example, there's the synthy sort of score, it's very 80s, right? It's fine, that's fine. But when Freddy turns up and there's a chase scene, it's like... Right, that's one thing, like, which is just, you're watching it. I don't know if in 1984 they're like, oh yeah, this is really intense. Yeah. But now I watch that and go, this is embarrassing. But it reaches its pinnacle in the end credits with the music that plays during the credits.
Right.
Which is a song called Nightmare by the band 213.
Okay. I'm not familiar with the work of 213.
It is the most 80s thing you've ever heard. I'll put it at the end of the podcast, but it's unbelievable. It's so ridiculous.
So stay tuned, listener, for the works of 213.
Yeah. But I mean, like, the things that we're sort of talking about, you can tell that overall we enjoyed the film because they're sort of minor quibbles.
Yeah, exactly. And the film does stand on its own. You could watch it and come away thinking that was quite a good film.
Yeah.
And I think Freddy Krueger is quite rightly considered to be one of the iconic villains of horror.
Yeah.
Because of the rules around how to fight him, which we love to discuss, especially when establishing the rules of how to survive.
Yeah.
So what do we know, Chris? We know he lives in dreams because he's dead and somehow lives in dreams.
Yes. Well, like all dead people.
Right. Oh, good point.
No, I was joking.
No, how deep?
Yeah.
Well,
they live on in our memories and dreams, Joe.
Yeah.
And what are dreams?
Oh, am I dreaming now?
It's impossible to tell.
Yeah.
That's actually a good point. Actually, in all seriousness, that is a good point, because I do like how it's not. You do begin to question whether you're seeing a dream or not.
Well, I was going to say that isn't exploited enough in this movie.
Yeah, I guess so.
If you take something like A Serious Man, which hopefully the listeners have seen, when we've both seen it, there are several scenes in that where you don't know it's a dream until he wakes up.
Yeah.
And then you're like, that's such a funny dream.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
But then, like, in this, I think it is, like, for example, the last third of the film, almost, from when she goes to sleep with her alarm clock set until the end of the film, it's very difficult to pinpoint exactly what is and isn't a dream. Because obviously when Freddy supposedly comes into the real world, he brings that sort of dreamlike abilities with him, doesn't he?
Because it's still a dream, though.
Yeah, but because it's an all-encompassing dream.
There's the scene where she picks up the phone, and it's his tongue.
Yeah.
And then there's no obvious, like, her waking up, and she goes downstairs. And there's no obvious cuts where she's like, wake up now. Yeah. Except when she brings him into the world, which then turns out that was a dream, because... Yeah.
But then what about the final scene?
That's a dream, presumably.
That must be a dream, yeah.
Yeah, because
So what about the scene preceding that? Is he dead?
Well, he must be, because...
But that's within a dream, isn't it?
It's Inception, isn't it?
Dreams within dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, there are ways to tell...
Is her mother actually dead at the end of the film?
That's the thing, it's a dream, you don't know.
Yeah. Or is, in the final scene when her mother is alive again, is she alive because it's a dream, or is she alive because this is now the real world, but Freddy's influence has somehow expanded beyond that dream?
Into the real world?
Yeah.
Well, or is it a dream?
The whole thing might be a dream.
The whole movie might be a dream.
This conversation might be a dream.
Am I dreaming? Is Freddy dreaming?
Is Freddy dreaming?
Yeah.
Freddy is dead, but he exists within the dreams, right, of multiple children.
Right.
So does that imply a shared dream universe?
A shared sort of... What, so when we go to sleep, we all have...
Yeah.
So I could meet you in a dream?
Our dreams... Because they have dreams of the same thing.
Right.
So you could either look at it as Freddy Krueger exists in a sort of, non-specific metaphysical way. Right. He exists in their nightmares. He's like a thing that they are afraid of when they go to sleep, and so he manifests in their nightmares. Right. But he is a creation of them, right, of their minds. Yes. But one that can somehow influence what happens to them in the real world. Right. Or there's like a dream world,
which he has domain in.
Yeah. And so when they each dream, he goes over to their little portion of the dream world and scares them or whatever, Right. So during in the opening scenes, Tina and Nancy and Glenn, they've all had dreams which feature Freddy Krueger. Yes. Is he haunting them individually, or are they all entering his dream world in a shared manner, and then he's just like, he's moving around geographically within the dream world.
And they're by going to sleep, they are opening their portal to the dream world.
Like, to draw a comparison, there's the astral projection elements of Insidious, the recent horror film. Right. If you've seen that.
I've seen it. I hate it.
Where they go into the dream world, or the astral projection world, right, which features all the ghosts. Yes. But that has like a geographical consistency, because one person can go in to retrieve the spirit of another. Right. So what I'm saying, Joe, is it a shared dream world?
I just don't know.
Because we were talking about the rules, Joan. I'm just trying to establish the rules. I'm just trying to get down the hard and fast rules that we can use to frame our discussion of survival.
Well, you could argue either way. I think we could easily do another 4 or 5 podcasts discussing whether it is a solipsistic existence in which we experience Freddy Krueger, or whether there is a sort of cooperative element to it.
Yeah.
A commune.
We dream together in order to create the world in which
Freddy Krueger is able to exist.
Yes.
I think...
Because Freddy Krueger, the monster, is presumably a byproduct, like in his current form, is a byproduct of the things that happen to him in the real world. He exists in the nightmare as a result of his murder at the hands of the parents, right or wrong.
Just revenge, you see.
Yeah. So, does the real world events that beset him impact his... Because, for example, he appears with burnt and blistered skin, which implies that he
was burned and therefore he took his essence through to the dream world with him.
Yeah.
How the question? I suppose the best way to answer this would be to answer the question: how did he get to the dream world?
Yeah.
If indeed he is in the dream world and not just a concept of all of their collective imaginations.
Yeah.
So what do we know?
Well, he can use dream logic to his advantage. Okay.
Which basically means anything goes.
Yeah, so he can make his arms really big, he can make maggots come out of his body, he can teleport behind Tina in the scene where he's chasing her. All those sorts of things he can use to his advantage.
Yes.
And he can also, in a Matrix-esque way, impact them in the dream in a way that affects them in real life.
One last thing before we talk about how to survive.
Yeah.
I mean, we mentioned it, we touched on it just now, but I'm quite keen to talk about how dreams are sort of represented in this film. And I know the point is kind of that you're not supposed to know if it's a dream or not, but I feel like I've never had a dream like that, if you know what I mean.
A lucid dream.
Well, even lucid dreams are still obviously dreams.
Right. Are they at the time, though? Have you never had a dream where you wake up and for a bit afterwards you forget that the things that happened in the dream aren't real?
Yes, but I still think most of the time they know they're in a dream, right?
Yeah.
She knows she's in a dream when she's being chased by Freddy.
Not always, I don't think.
True. Well, have you seen the movie Waking Life?
No.
Richard Linklater movie about lucid dreaming, basically.
Right.
That basically makes the assertion that the whole movie is a lucid dream. It's meant to be. It's done in the style of like a Scanner Darkly.
Okay.
He did that before to sort of test out the animation style, and it has the idea that if you look at a watch or a clock, it won't work because time doesn't work in dreams. Same, you can't read in dreams.
Yeah.
You can't. Light switches don't work in dreams.
Okay.
So these things all in. Also, you can't look in mirrors in dreams.
Okay.
So all these things are ways of sort of checking if you're in a dream. Because if you wanted to get into lucid dreaming, if you wanted to get into a lucid dream and take control, you'd notice yourself in the mirror and say, okay, I'm not actually a fox.
Yeah, it's like the totems in Inception.
Absolutely, yeah. So you're having a trigger basically to say this is a dream.
Yeah.
I guess the point I'm making is that I've never had a dream as clear cut as that. And I think there are better ways to represent dreams. Sopranos dreams, right?
Okay, yeah.
You mean you've seen Sopranos?
Yeah.
Hopefully listeners at home have seen Sopranos too. Those are dreams that sort of are dreams to me.
Yeah.
When you see faces at the window and you're like that, or like you're suddenly on a boat. Or,
yeah, but it's not. Nothing's joined up.
Yeah, exactly. It's all like, what's the meaning behind it? Like, I mean, you can say that about dreams. What does it mean?
Yeah.
I don't think you can say it about these dreams. It's just, I'm just saying that I've seen better representations of dreams in movies.
Yeah, but then those are dreams formed based on your personal mind's dream. But does Freddy Krueger, I mean, presumably he does have control to some extent over dreams.
Well, what are dreams, Chris?
What fun?
What are dreams?
What are dreams? It's impossible to say, Joe, even for the experts.
Yeah, we're back into this.
Yeah.
But do you think there's a way that you can establish you're in a dream in this universe? As in the universe of Nightmare on Elm Street, not ours. Because all the things I mentioned, she does use them all. She turns on a light switch in order to blow the shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
She checks her watch. She's timing him to come down or something. She looks in the mirror when he bursts through it, which are all ways of checking you're in a dream.
Yeah. Are they only ways of checking it if you're in a dream within that universe, though? Of the other film?
Waking Life?
Yeah.
No, they're meant to be... I mean, Waking Life is based on the real idea that you can get into a dream or lucid dream based on these things.
Okay.
It's... Yeah. So they're... Those... I mean, if I was dreaming now... Oh, this is getting very... I'm interested to know what it sounds like to listen to us talk about dreams. Because listening to people talk about dreams is...
So boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, Chris, we know the rules. I just wanted to say... I wanted to ask...
We know the rules as best as possible. Anyway.
Yeah. I wanted to ask that more to establish whether we can lucid dream in this world.
Yeah. Well, when we're talking about how to survive, we said about Freddy using dream logic.
Mm-hmm.
Presumably he didn't, when he was alive, train himself to somehow, lucid dream or dream in a way that allows him to use dream logic.
Right.
It could be said, it could be possible that you're on an equal footing in terms of control over the dream, as long as you retain, that lucid element, knowing that you're in a dream.
Yeah, that's the point. I mean, you can train yourself to be able to lucid dream.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I want to open on, is how I would survive, is by lucid dreaming.
Yeah.
So, like I said, these are the ways. If you spent 4 hours a day flicking a light on and off, it's likely you'd dream about that, because and as soon as you do and you realise it's not working because the light switches don't work in dreams, you go, wait, I'm in a dream. Freddy's after me. Right, I'll turn him into a hot dog or something.
Yeah. Well, that is one method.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, similarly, I was going to suggest use dream logic against Freddy.
Mm-hmm.
So just fly away,
right.
Or turn him into a slug.
Yeah.
Make him be disappear into a black hole. All things that although, is there a difference, Joe, between dreams and nightmares?
Interesting.
Because nightmare's in the title.
Yes.
Can you have a lucid nightmare? Because that is probably closer to what they're experiencing.
Yeah, and it also suggests that you don't have much control. Because if you were in control, you'd be like, well, this is great, I'm going to go to the supermarket.
Yeah.
And it'll be fine.
There is a moment where she regains control to some extent, which is where she says, I'm not scared of you because I know this is a dream.
Right.
And he goes to attack her and sort of falls through her and turns into stardust.
Yes.
So that suggests, that she can use that ability. She does have the ability to say, I'm in a dream, I know that, I will stop that. I'm going to prevent you from causing me any harm because I know I'm in a dream. But in the next scene, Freddy's influence is shown to still be there. So has she just... Is that all part of the nightmare? Is she actually being shown that the nightmare is inescapable?
Oh. You just stop asking these deep questions, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man. There's a lot to think about, isn't there? Because I was kind of tired of that ending as soon as I saw it, which was like, oh, it was a dream. And you're like, oh, I was disappointed. But obviously we've got 40 or 50 minutes of discussion now talking about whether it was a dream or not. So it's worthwhile, I guess. I
guess the closest thing is a lucid nightmare.
Yeah.
But you could. But if you are lucid in the sense that you're aware that it's a dream, then you at least give yourself a better shot, I think, surviving. To that end, there's a drug called galantamine,
right,
which can apparently induce lucid dreams.
Oh, really?
So, as can apparently smoking a lot of weed.
Interesting.
So, one method of survival, potentially, if you were worried about Freddy having an influence over your dreams, is to give yourself the best preparation that you can, in the sense of taking lots of galantamine and
smoking lots of weed. Right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, well, those seem like as good a way to survive as any.
Yeah.
I mean, give yourself as good a fighting chance as possible.
On a similar note, REM sleep is when it's the part of the sleep cycle where we dream.
Yeah, that's established in the film by the doctor.
Exactly. Yeah, that is one thing the doctor knows.
Yeah.
So to that end, there are drugs, dopamine-based drugs, antidepressants, things like that, which can actually block REM sleep completely.
Right.
Or
diminish it.
Yeah, exactly. So take lots of them, and hopefully avoid that influence.
Don't eat cheese before bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether that has a long-term effect, or like maybe Freddy Krueger can actually transcend from the dream world into the real world at will anyway. Like, what does the end of the film suggest?
This again.
Dreams within dreams.
Yeah. I'd say if you were familiar with the dream, if it was a recurring dream, then you probably would be able to be a bit more in control, if you know what I mean. So to that end, I suggest that Nancy, who we'll take on the role of Nancy for this, signs up for a degree with lots of exams,
okay,
a driving test, and moves house, right? And then she'll only dream about exams, missing exams, and
so cause herself lots of outside stress.
Yes.
But then if she's opening herself up to dreams, is Freddy able to, is it because at the start of the film they don't know about Freddy Krueger.
Yeah. So
he's able to influence them in dreams without them knowing who he is originally. Right. So that would be more like she'd be in her driving test and she'd look over and Freddy Krueger is the driving instructor.
Yeah, but you'd also go, well, I'm dreaming now because I know Freddy Krueger isn't my driving instructor.
So you'd be, I see. So
you'd be putting yourself in recognisable dream situations.
Right.
So I've had this dream before.
Yeah. So you want to induce recurring dreams somehow?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
But they presumably don't generally dream about boiler rooms and things.
Yeah, true. So maybe the boiler room should be the giveaway.
Yeah. Or like maybe they should spend loads of time in the boiler room.
So
and then they'll
be
so familiar with it, it won't be a source of fear for them anymore.
Yeah.
If they were all boiler technicians, they'd spend their livelihood around boilers.
Yeah.
And they'd be more that when they were arrived in the boiler room dream,
it would be no shock to them.
Yeah, they'd be like, oh, well, this is a Avantis X41C. That's interesting. It's a combi boiler type, giant furnace. That's very interesting.
Or the steam that's sort of filling the room in a creepy way. They just tighten the valves so it would stop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, giving them nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
Well, based on dreams that I've noticed are influenced by outside factors that I've had, I recommend that Nancy reads the entire Song of Ice and Fire series, and then she'll start to dream that she's in Westeros.
That's good.
And giving her a fighting chance, because presumably Freddy Krueger won't have read it, so he won't be able to go to the...
He won't be familiar. So you think put Freddy Krueger in a situation that he's unfamiliar with?
Yes, exactly.
Right, okay.
But, I mean, you could go to, say, Eddard Stark and say, Lord Stark, can you help me out?
Yeah.
And he'd say, certainly. But Freddy Krueger wouldn't know who to go to. So how?
Yeah. He'd go to Littlefinger.
Yeah.
And then Littlefinger's got all sorts of nefarious
schemes.
Yes.
Where he'd go to, say, Cersei, and she'd probably...
cut his head off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You never know. Similarly, dreams that I've had influenced by outside things, I recommend that she browses Facebook before bed, and she'll find herself with an army of people she hasn't spoken to since school, who can help her in her battle against Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, while shouting about the day-to-day minutiae of their life. Exactly. Yeah. Well, on a slightly different tact, there's a big point in the film made of the fact that you can drag things from the dream world into the real world.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think it's a massive leap of logic to suggest that gateway works in reverse as well.
Okay.
Every time they appear in the dream, they're in their bedclothes or similar.
Yeah, true.
All the clothes that they're wearing when they're asleep, or often at least. So with the fact that he's covered in burns in mind, a massive bag of salt,
right,
and then just throw it at him, loads and loads of salt all over him. That'll be really painful.
It would, yeah. He wouldn't like that.
Yeah, or just any sort of like, you know, nails that you can leave around that might snag on his jumper. You know.
Yeah. Or you could, the other way, you could assume that perhaps he's in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
That's why he didn't want to be burned alive.
Or
so take aloe vera in with you, rub it all over him,
and maybe he'll
calm down a bit.
Yeah.
Go, that's. You know what?
Do you know what? I murdered all those children because no one ever just showed me the sort of compassion that you've just given me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one solution.
Also, towards the end of the film, it becomes apparent that Freddy is particularly susceptible to any kind of sort of pratfall or slapstick incident.
Right. So the sledgehammer to the balls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the falling over the banister rail.
Yeah.
Even the way he gets set on fire is sort of a little bit ridiculous. Yeah. Embarrassing. So with that in mind, I would set up. I mean, where she gets a book with a booby trap book, I don't know.
Yeah.
But here's some of my suggestions for that. Any sort of a wire at a low point in front of any sort of doorway.
Well, that's what triggers
marbles all over the floor.
Yeah.
Thumbtacks on chairs.
Yeah. Roller skate
at the top of the stairs. Yeah.
That's there you go. Super glue.
Yeah, super glue on things like door handles. Yeah. Anything like that.
A train going around the living room to make it look as if someone's there when they're not.
Yeah, a series of rakes littered around the floor that you can step on like Sideshow Bob.
Yeah.
Any sort of like Home Alone style things, really.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy with that?
And actually, one final suggestion, which is more of a serious suggestion, get an alarm that sets off if your heart rate rises above a certain level.
Very good. Using biotech in your favour.
Yeah. Well, there's you can get those running, like heart monitors, heart rate monitors, things like that. If you just get one of them, I'm sure in 1984 it was really simple to just rig that up to an alarm, and they were freely available and within the budget of the average American teenager.
Yeah, sure. Well, she could just ask the Sleep Institute for help. I mean, they're obviously very, very well funded.
Yeah.
So much so that they can have anyone just show up off the street
to run their tests. Yeah. Yeah, and call themselves a doctor.
Yeah. Well, my last one is just to sleep in an advantageous place. Because they wake up in bed. Right. They wake up outside their house.
So wake up or sleep in a bed with a machine gun. Yeah, exactly.
Or sleep in a gun shop.
Yeah.
Or sleep in an impenetrable fortress.
Yeah. 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 I think those are all very good suggestions.
We've had a few letters in from listeners. The first one comes from Hannah. Once again, regular correspondent Hannah says, I'd survive by setting my alarm to go off every 90 minutes or so, therefore preventing REM sleep, which is confirmed by the doctor in the film to be the time at which we dream. Yeah. So not
it's not outside the boundaries of the film.
Yeah, you're not assuming anything.
No.
There are also drugs to reduce REM sleep, as we said, and shorten dreams, including marijuana.
There we go.
Yeah. So confirmation. Chris emails in. He says he'd meditate for 3 to 5 hours on the idea that Freddy Krueger is made of rhubarb crumble, and then when he shows up, just lick him until he dissolves. And the final one comes from Lauren, who says, I'd induce dreamless sleep via a strong sedative. Try killing me then, Freddy. Which, all very good ideas.
He'd have problems.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your emails.
Well, if you want to get in touch, as always, the email address is howtosurviveshow@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm. Next week, we're going to be covering The Hills Have Eyes from 1977. It's the original. I mean, the remake, pretty much the same story.
Yeah.
If you found yourself trapped in the desert being hunted by a family of cannibals, how would you survive?
Find out next week.
Yeah. I've been Joe.
And I've been Chris.
And this has been a pleasure. A dream.
Yes.
Or a nightmare.
Either.
How will we know?
And on that note, Here is Nightmare by 213.